Hello.
Hello. How are you?
What are you giggling at?
No, just bouncing away. How are you, Simon?
That's a chirpy little tune, isn't it, mate? Chirpy little tune, that.
It certainly is, sir. It certainly
is. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or even watching from. Thank you very, very much for joining us. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si via Radio Techers, back on our Monday night slot, attempting to give everybody something to smile about as their weekend ends and, you know, the close of the potentially the worst day of the week, I guess. I am Si, and joining me as always is the Terry Funk to my middle-aged flunk, the Great Mooter to my new internet router. Oh, yes. A podcaster that says you don't need to be from Fury Road to enter his Thunderdome, or misses. Mr. Max, how are we doing, sir?
Well, do you know what, Simon? I'm going to shoot from the hip now. I'm not in a good mood. Not in a good mood at all.
What the fuck have I done this time?
Yeah, exactly, sir. I was absolutely fine earlier on today. I was enjoying my merry little way, getting on with what I needed to get on with, and listening to
blatantly.
Ex-hamster. Listening to my regularly scheduled podcast, and who pops up on one of my favorite podcasts, the UTT podcast. A certain Sar Powell, a certain co-host here on Chain Wrestling. And I thought, do you know what? Yeah. What a bloody good treat, because I weren't expecting it. And I thought, do you know what? It's cool when Simon goes off and does these little sad gigs. I like to hear him and hear what he has to say. And within 30 seconds of you being on that show, you were slagging me off, sir. Slagging me off. And I get it. It's a little bit of comedy, I suppose, to break the ass. But you kept it up all the way through the show. Anytime I listen to a podcast with Mags on, I'll just skip that episode. Oh, I was heartbroken. But being serious, it was such a good episode. I really enjoyed it. Props to Rob and Dan over there at UTT podcast. It's an outstanding. Yeah, it was cool to hear you on there. How's your day been?
Yeah, all right, mate. All right. Oh God, are you still there? Yeah, there you are. I thought I pressed something wrong then. Cool. I thought I disconnected myself already, Mags. Yeah, no, I've been all right, mate. Been all right. I haven't listened back to UTT yet. I'm going to need to, because it's recorded so much in advance. People were messaging back and forth on Twitter, talking about saying it was a great episode and so on. And we had Steve-O popping up and saying, you know, Si was a great guest and so on. But I can't remember anything that we discussed because it was so long ago. I can barely remember what I had for dinner a couple of hours back. Do you know what I mean? So remembering what was discussed on this podcast recorded a few weeks ago, I got no idea. So I'm going to need to go back and have a look, mate.
You may not remember it, but you said some comments that I personally will never forget.
Well, you might have just upset me that day or something. I don't know.
So it could have been any day we've ever spoke.
What have you been up to this week then, mate? Anything good?
No, not really. It's just been nose to the grindstone. Had a busy weekend with UFC changing the schedule. It was meant to be on at 11 o'clock and ended up being on at 2. So yeah, that threw me for a loop. Ended up basically wasting yesterday just because I was so tired. But yeah, it's been a busy weekend.
Yeah. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I caught a bit of a TV show earlier.
Okay.
Do you remember our episode on game shows that we discussed a while back?
I do.
And you put forward Only Connect as a show that you liked?
As one of the best shows that the BBC produced.
I've not got any idea about this show at all until literally an hour ago, when I was sat down. I was basically prepping for this show. Believe it or not, I actually did do a bit of prep this week, Max. And it popped up on the little box saying, "Oh, this starts at 8 o'clock." And I was like, "Oh, that's what Magsy's on about." So I clicked on it to have a look. I ain't so sure, mate. Where do they find these people?
Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mute Sar. He's not allowed to talk anymore. We're going to carry on with the episode, and I'm going to read through some of the comments here in the chat. No, do it not for you, really.
No, the quiz itself.
I
The
think
quiz
it's
itself
brilliant.
was quite good. Yeah, the quiz itself was quite
Oh,
interesting.
the teams are nerds. The teams are full on nerds.
Yeah.
They always are.
I'm watching it. I'm like, she's going, oh, and this contestant is such and such, and they enjoy this, like that. And oh, and this is Harry, and he likes to play 18th century music on his mandolin. I'm like, fucking course he does. Look at the state of him. You know, the team captain on the other side of the quiz on the other team, it looked like the love child of Kevin from the middle and the gingerhead lass from Gimme Gimme Gimme. You know, I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, how do people go on television and not brush their hair? You know, how can that be a thing? I'm just like, and that it took me quarter of an hour to get over that. So I was halfway through the quiz before I started paying too much attention to what was going on, to be fair.
Did you get any questions right?
No, did I bollocks?
Not even on the wall.
No, the wife was quite good at it.
Oh, well.
The wife was quite good. I sort of sat there not really understanding what was going on.
So you were just being normal Southern.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. I just let the world just float past. You know, I'm happy in my little bubble of ignorance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have got plenty of action here in the chat, and yeah, cheers everybody for coming and watching two idiots talk about Only Connect. We will get to the wrestling, I promise. So we've got Dan in the chat. There's the lads. Evening, gents. Evening to you, sir. And he comes back with nice to see Mags back from his time traveling Barry Darsow antics. Now there is a story behind that. Dan has found an image of a Barry Darsow fan. From I assume a Nitro or maybe a pay-per-view, and he's holding up a sign saying how much he loves Barry Darsow, but he spelt the name wrong with a missing W. So he says that's me because I love Barry Darsow.
I never get people like that who turn up at these shows. Obviously, it's more so a thing back in the day, isn't it? But they're turning up at these events and they've got all the signs everywhere and that, but they spell wrestlers' names wrong or they've made like zero effort. They've literally got a sign and just scribbled something in biro or something. Do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of the time they take blank signs in because it's likely your sign will get took off you if it was a bit rude or a bit against some of the wrestlers, and then they just take a black marker in and write it on the fly, I suppose. I do remember on the episode of UTT podcast that you were on, you mentioned the sign with the ring banders where they could just flip the name over and be so and so is the best wrestler in the world. I thought that's a brilliant idea.
That was good. I remember that bit.
Getting back into some of the comments, we've got Graham and Matt from Good Cop Bad Cop. Hello guys, how are you? Dan, cheers for the plugs. I'll PayPal you that 20. It's now 30 for the amount of times we've mentioned it. Tom Collihue, sir, in the chat, getting ready for an episode of Spoiler Warning, which will have plenty to talk about with today's wrestling news. Graham again said he listened to the episode of UTT podcast this afternoon as lacrosse practice tomorrow when our normal listen is off. Okay. I'm sure Rob and Dan will be happy for the listen, Graham. The best Powell in the business. Sharon is in the room. Hello. And Ori the Draw carries me and Tanner on a changing attitude.
Yeah, she's the only reason you listen to that show, isn't it?
Yeah, she's the only reason I'm on the show. Dan, you can find UTT podcast by searching Unbooking the Territory on all the good platforms and some shit ones. Scottish Danny, hello, sir, in the chat. Saying there's a Sports Direct mug signing, a huge pop. Wow, there's so many comments. I absolutely love all you guys. You are absolutely amazing. But Anya's in the chat, our cohort from Radio Techers, and your soon-to-be partner on the Waiting Room podcast in the chat. Benny, how are you, sir?
Yeah, we've recorded a few episodes now. Got a few saved up, ready to go. It's going really well. Really enjoying it. Yeah.
And last one for now, at least. Scottish Danny. I went to a SmackDown show in 2005. Took a hardcore Halloween sign, and he pointed me out. That would absolutely be awesome. He probably pointed out to say he was going to smash it in face because he was an angry person. But yeah, that would have been awesome.
I can't imagine you saw many hardcore Holly, even if you were hardcore Holly. I can't imagine you saw many hardcore Holly signs at any show.
You know, he peeped from behind the curtain with a pair of binoculars looking for any.
Yeah. I imagine those, you spoke about those blank signs that people take in. I imagine he was going out into the crowd and threatening people and saying, you best write my name on one of your signs. Because otherwise he just wouldn't get it.
or paying people to.
Yeah. Oh, there we go, mate. There we go. Maxie, have you got your little jingle board, your little sound effects board ready to go?
I can have. Which sound effect do you need? I bet it's a pimple dick.
We've got a pimple dick, I'm afraid, my friend.
Oh, good Lord. Here we go.
Pimple dick alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
Yes, and this is actually...
Still tickles me.
Hey?
That still tickles me.
That little... Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Oh, it's a teeny weeny.
little bit behind the scenes on that. When I made that, it was supposed to say, oh, a teeny wiener, but the autocorrect changed it to weenie, and that's how it came out. And I thought, well, that sounds better, so I'm gonna keep it. So
brilliant.
This involves someone who I don't actually know who they are. But the person they're having a dig at, the person they're having a dig at, I do. A lot of people will be very familiar with, and it's something I'm quite a fan of as well. And it's to do with the coverage of the Olympics over the last week, 2 weeks, however long it's been. And Alex Scott, who is a ex-Ladies England international, who does a lot of the football for BBC and BT, or is it Sky she works for? Sky, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think she's great. I think she knows a great deal about the game. I enjoy listening to her talk about it. And now she's covering the Olympics as well, popping up on some of the BBC shows there. So I find this, again, different viewpoints, really, really interesting. Do you know who Lord Digby Jones is?
I've heard of him. I don't particularly know him, but
I've got no idea who this dude is.
I think he's like a low rent Piers Morgan. Says stuff to garner notoriety.
Right. Okay. Well, this guy's just a dick. I'll read the tweets out. I've got them in front of me on my phone now because I'm not clever enough to bring them up on my screen like you are, Mags. So I've still got to do the old-fashioned way. Okay. Lord Digby
have
Jones.
The power to do it.
Yeah, it's just complicated, mate, isn't it? You know. He says here, and I'm quoting directly from his Twitter: "Enough! I can't stand it anymore. Alex Scott spoils a good presentational job on the BBC Olympics team with her very noticeable inability to pronounce her G's at the end of a word. Competitors are not, in big letters, not taking part, Alex, in the fencing, rowing, boxing, kayaking, weightlifting, and swimming. She's hot on the heels of Beth Rigby at Sky, the Home Secretary, for God's sake. Can't someone give these people elocution lessons? I fear that it may be aped by youngsters along the lines of the use of moronic interrogative originally caused by neighbours on behalf..." And I'm not going to read anymore. Yeah, basically, he's having a pop at Alex Scott because of the way she's pronouncing certain words. I don't particularly like it. It boils my piss a bit. It winds me up when my wife and kids say water without the T, so water, but they're doing it intentionally to wind me up because they know it makes me cross. Okay, so that's just an ongoing thing in our house. However, this lady, Alex Scott, I think is absolutely fantastic in what she does. She's played for the England ladies football team over 100 times. I think she's as a dad to 3 daughters. I think she's great because she's effectively an inspiration. She's someone who has played sport at a very high level and is now a pundit, very visible on television for various different things. And I think she always presents herself very well. I've not noticed an issue with how she pronounces certain words. This guy jumping on Alex Scott like this to criticize how she pronounces certain words is unnecessary. He's making out she's of a lower level of intelligence potentially. And just basically just being an absolute pimple dick bastard. It's what, again, it comes under the same bracket of you don't need to say anything.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You don't need to bring anything. Alex Scott actually did respond, saying, I'm from a working class family in East London, for the Tower Hamlets, and I am proud of the young girl who overcame obstacles, and proud of my accent. It's me, it's my journey, my grit. A quick one to any young kids who may not have a certain kind of privilege in life. Never allow judgments on your class, accent, or appearance to hold you back. So even in this instance, where this Lord Pimple Dick of shit breath, or whatever his flaming name was, I don't know, I've lost it now, Lord Digby Jones, even in this instance where he is being incredibly unnecessarily rude and ignorant, and it's basically turning into a class thing. He's having a dig at someone about how they pronounce certain words and calling them lesser intelligent than others maybe. She's responded fantastically, and again, being an inspiration. Exactly.
With class. Yeah.
But it just really pissed me off. Why do people feel the need to even just comment on that? I've got a big issue. I can't pronounce TH properly. It always comes out like an F. So when I say think, it's literally a think, you know, and that's all well what my dad takes the mick out of me now, even though I'm 40 years of age. It's something that's been part of the way I spoke for years. Now, does that mean I'm of lesser class or lesser intelligence and I deserve to be ridiculed on a social media platform? Well, maybe, but it's it's not necessary. And this lady here is trying to, she's trying to do a job. And again, she's an inspiration, I think, to young girls who want to be involved in professional sports and broadcasting and so on. And she has come from a very working class or even lower background, a rough background in certain areas of London and so on. And she's done fantastic to get to where she is now. It's testament to her hard work and her commitment. So I say, Lord Digby, fucking cocksmudge, or whatever your name is, fuck you. You're a pimple dick piece of shit. There's absolutely no need for that. Just keep your gob shut and just ignore it. If you don't like it, turn off. No one's going to miss you. There we go, mate.
I couldn't put it any better myself. And one of the best replies to him was actually from Stephen Fry. And he said, "You are everything that linguists and true lovers of language despise. Also, seeing as we are being picky, you are not Lord Digby Jones. You are Digby Lord Jones. That's a world of difference. But however you're titled, you disgrace the upper house with your misplaced snobbery." Brilliant. Absolutely
Nice.
brilliant.
Yeah, good.
And the grief is getting in our chat as well. It's really good to see Tom Collier saying, so definitely not Lord Digby Chicken Caesar. Oh, who doesn't love that Mitchell and Webb look reference? Dan, Lord Dickhead Jones. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfect. And Scottish down there, Mags and SARS shooting hard here. I don't even shoot hard. I just wait till SARS finished and I just finish off. He does the killing and I just like finish him off. It's a brilliant. I love a good pimple dick.
Yeah, and a very deserved one as well, mate. Thoroughly deserved.
Absolutely.
So then, shall we jump to Twitter and see what our fantastic viewers / listeners have given us this week, mate?
Yes, we shall.
We shall. Okay. For this week's topic, we thought that we'd get people talking about food, because it seems to be, along with drunk stories, which will eventually return again very soon. It seems to be a popular topic. Along with the drunk stories topic we do, anything food orientated, you lot go mad for. You love it. So we played Title or Toasty in the past that got a great response. We've done various topics about, odd food takes and so on. This week we decided that you get those moments where you want to grab yourself some lunch. I guess you're out and about in town, you're driving, you pop in a garage, you pop in a shop or whatever, and you get these meal deals, don't you? Like, for £3 you can have a drink, a sandwich, and a bag of crisps or whatever, something like that. Different supermarkets, different petrol stations, gas stations, whatever. So it's like, what are people's go-to? What is your ideal situation here? What do you get? And we said we can have one sandwich / wrap thingy, a bag of crisps or similar, a dessert, so chocolate or fruit or whatever, and your drink.
As if anybody picked fruit.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say no fruit. we had some quite interesting responses, Magsy. I think it opened a little insight into some of our listeners, mate.
Certainly did. And when we were discussing this topic, I knew this would throw some cats amongst the pigeons because this is a heated topic. It'll show up every now and again on Twitter, but there's actual Reddit posts and Reddit
really?
subgroups dedicated to the meal deal. So yeah, it's interesting to see what some of our friends and viewers and listeners have come up with.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just list them as they came into us in the usual order. Our first response was from 5nerdsgo at 5nerdsgo on Twitter. They responded absolutely nothing of them because they're all covered in the devil's whatever mayonnaise. I hate all supermarkets for that. I'll just have some McCoys, a Whisper, and a banana milkshake. Okay. I don't mind mayo, mate. I don't mind a bit of mayo on stuff, but if you don't like it, yeah, a lot of them are coated in mayo, aren't they?
Yeah, it's usually because it's easier to spread than putting butter on, I suppose. But I do get his point. Sandwich mayo from meal deals is usually bland and tasteless. But I mean, you give him an option to have a duck wrap with no mayo, but Matt didn't seem to be receptive to that.
I love a duck wrap, mate. That's my go-to. I think a duck wrap. That's nice, that is.
Well, we'll get to yours soon. Don't worry.
Okay. Rob at UTT Rob, something cheese savoury. He says, salt and vinegar McCoys, cherry Pepsi Max, Whisper Gold. See,
I'm not loving the popularity of the Whisper Gold. I think you guys are picking it on purpose.
Here we go.
To wind me up. But the rest is standard. I mean, cheese savers I'm not a huge fan of because they pack it full of onion, and I'm not a big onion lover. But salt and vinegar McCoys and cherry Pepsi Max are standard good picks.
Yeah, was it last week you were talking about Whispers and air in chocolate and so on?
Yeah, it annoys me.
I love a mint aero though, mate. That's the thing.
Yeah, you would do, yeah.
You've been I would do. What's that supposed to mean?
Because you've been your low intelligence pronouncing think means you've been brainwashed by Nestle. That's what it is.
Just because you sit there and watch Only Connect doesn't mean that you're some higher intellectual plane. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's right. Dan Griffin in the chat. Mags is on about Whispers again. What a shame. Yeah, there we go.
That's why you all pick Whispers. Almost everybody pick Whispers, and it is to just wind me up.
Well, it's worked, hasn't it? Look at you. You're getting all heated now. You're getting all saucy. You're getting all sassy. You know,
Mrs. P. I have stand for you in this show, and you've gone and let me down. That's hurt me deep. That's hurt me deep.
Okay. Which is better then with a Whisper Gold because you haven't got just bubbles because you've got the caramel as well.
Yeah,
there's no bubbles in the caramel.
No, Whisper Gold. They're the almost acceptable version of an airy chocolate because you do get that caramel, especially if you freeze it and the caramel goes a little bit harder. That I would accept, but a standard Whisper, nope. Aero,
it's almost
get to fuck. Oh, Aeros are the most annoying because you literally snap a piece of Aero and the bubbles are huge. They're huge bubbles. You are having your pants pulled down. There is less than 50% chocolate in that Aero.
So my wife having 2 yesterday means that she got 1 chocolate bar then in your
essentially it's exactly like the Little Britain thing where if you eat half the calories you can have twice as much.
Bloody hell. And what was it you called it? An airy chocolate.
Yeah, it's air, it's fresh air. So why not just buy a proper piece of chocolate and then just go and get exactly the same but more chocolate for your money?
Right, okay.
Scottish Danny's on my wavelength. Look, I'm with Mags on Whispers. Sorry, they feel fake. Yes, they do. Absolutely, they do. And I'm not a big fan of flakes as well because even though it looks cool all wrapped up and swirling, there's gaps in them wraps and there's fresh air there. Oh, you've done it to me again, chat. 2 weeks in a row, I've been abused with chocolate. Oh yeah, it's annoying.
Are you finished? Are you okay?
No, because I know we've got more Whisper Golds on the list. So come on, let's just
go
get through
break?
this. A Kit Kat.
Oh yeah. Ori messaged us saying she really likes the chicken bacon ranch wrap from Subway, baked barbecue lays, and a Dr Pepper. Now, barbecue lays, I don't think I've had them. What are they?
So lays are essentially walkers.
Okay, fair enough. And she also said a few messages after this that she'd forgot her dessert. Mags will hate me for this, but it'll always be these. And she sent us a little gif, and I believe it's Jaffa cakes.
So I will be advertising for a new co-host on a change in attitude very, very soon. So keep your eyes open for that post.
See, you're just an odd bloke, mate. How can you not like Jaffa cakes?
Because I like the cake. And the chocolate, I mean, the chocolate doesn't bother me. It's not exactly the best chocolate. It's the plastic disc of orange. I just can't stick it.
That's the best bit. I like to chew the biscuit
it's the
off,
worst
take
bit.
all the chocolate
it's
off.
The worst bit.
And stick like 3 or 4 of the orange bits together.
You disgust me.
Dan Griffin messaged the show at Dan Griffin 21. Now he has put a lot of research into this.
Dan, this shocked me because I've always thought Dan to be of the common man. Not to disparage him, but he's like a proper bloke. But depending on where he is, this guy gets a little bit hoity-toity. We'll get to his M&S one, but I'm sure he orders that with a monocle and a top hat. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, there's a few. He's always done extensive research into this, hasn't he? Let's be honest. If Dan's in Tesco,
that's horrible to say.
What's that?
He's obviously done extensive research into eating meal deals.
Well, no, I just meant that because he's very clued up on what he wants. Not any what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking that you're the same as you. He's clued up on what he wants.
You're insinuating something else there, mate, and that's the words of Mags, not me.
I'm not.
Dan says here it's based on all the shops near his work. Yeah. So, but you've got a lot of shops by the way you work then. So Tesco, he says you would have pulled beef and red Leicester sardine. That sounds lush. That sounds banging.
Sounds really nice.
McCoy's sizzling steak, Whisper Gold.
No, he's put Whisper Gold on every one on purpose.
See, that confuses me then, right? Because you've got Whisper Gold for Tesco, Whisper Gold for Sainsbury's, Whisper Gold if he goes to the co-op, right? But the crisps change. So, Dan, do you have a preference on the crisps? Because you've got McCoy's sizzling steak for Tesco, Hula Hoops for Sainsbury's, McCoy's cheese and onion for the co-op. Do they not do sizzling steak, or I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I think different supermarkets have different products in the range you can pick from.
Okay, that makes sense. And then M&S, this one, I don't.
This is not the Dan that I know and love. This is Sir Dan of Yorkshire.
We've got Pepsi Max as the drink, which is standard across all of his choices.
Mm-hmm.
Onion and chive crisps. I can get on board with that. That sounds quite nice. Millionaire's shortbread. I don't like shortbread. Shortbread can get in the bin. That's nasty.
What?
Yeah, I don't like shortbread, man. Nah. And the thing that gets me the most, roast chicken and avocado sandwich. What's that all about?
It's posh Dan being posh. I think they're the meal deals he'll go on when it's on the company's money, and then if he has to pay for it, he's going to Tesco or Sainsbury's.
yeah, shortbread, mate. Nah, not for me. Not for me, pal. Wow. No, but a lot of people tell me, "Oh, shortbread's lovely with a cup of coffee," and I don't like coffee, so maybe that's it.
Oh, who even are you? We've been recording this podcast now for so long, and I'm starting to learn things I'm not happy about.
Well, what upsets you there, the coffee or the shortbread?
Both equally.
Oh, okay. No, I've never liked coffee. It's nasty. You know, I used to make my wife. It gives me headaches. I used to make my wife a coffee sometimes, and the smell of it would give me headaches. You know, Christmas Day, my wife's got one of those I don't know what you call it, like one of the posher coffee machine things, you know? Yeah, you ain't wrong, Sha. And it makes the whole house smell of coffee. And for about 10 minutes, I'm thinking that does smell really nice. After that, man, I got such a banging headache from it. But it's the same coffee, sweets, everything. I don't like any of it.
I've literally got behind here, a bean to coffee machine.
Right,
Bean to
yeah.
cup machine. So you put in the raw beans, and then it makes you the cup of coffee. It's the best invention known to man.
Yeah. Ah, fair enough. Yes. That's because I'm right and Mags is wrong.
Yeah, Graham Wood, because he likes to be pernickety.
Pernickety.
Yeah.
Okay. At Scottish Juggalo, Danny, he says he has this almost every single day. So on one aspect from there, I suppose, variety is good, Danny, but at least you know exactly where you're coming from and what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Ham and cheese sandwich, barbecue beef hula hoops, Red Bull, Kit Kat. And he says, gotta go chunky with a Kit Kat. Now, I'm not a big fan of Kit Kats either, mate.
Standard ones, meh. Yeah, they can sit on the shelf for me. A good peanut butter chunky Kit Kat though is
Oh, the white one. The white one's nice.
No, I said peanut butter, not the white one. Peanut butter.
No, yeah, I know what you said. I'm just saying that the white one's not. What is wrong with you today?
It's listening to you, and now I have to look at your face and pretend everything's happy when you slated me on a podcast.
Max, you know I'm only joking. Come on, don't get all your thong all bunched up.
Drama makes for views. Have you not realised this? Yeah.
Shall I storm off or something?
Yeah. I'm fucking. This podcast can piss off from now on.
Yeah.
Going back to Danny's pick, the only one I would probably avoid out that is Red Bull. I don't mind energy drinks, just something about Red Bull. I can't get on with the flavour. It's very kind of like it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. But the rest, yeah, it's fine.
There used to be a nightclub close to me years and years and years ago. They used to make a drink called a Shamble. Have you heard of that?
No.
And it's champagne, vodka, and Red Bull, all in like a little tall wine glass thing. And it's like this is going back years and years, and even then it was like £9 for a glass of it. But you had 5 of them, mate. My God, you couldn't see it. It was great. I wonder if that place is still open. Actually, I'm going to find out. Andy Bang Bang podcast. Tuna mayo and lettuce, flaming hot Monster Munch. Oh, great shape, Monster Munch. Yeah. Double decker Diet Coke.
I mean, take the lettuce off because it's essentially crunchy water. Yeah, that's a solid standard 4.
Take the lettuce off because it's crunchy water, did you just say?
Yeah, that's what it is. Flavourless, crunchy water.
It's crunchy water, bloody hell. Flaming hot Monster Munch, though, mate.
Banging.
What a shape.
Yeah, that is a great shout. Andy has nailed it there.
Yeah, well done, Andy. You've done really well, mate. We're proud of you, pal. All the way from Australia, they have meal deals in Ramsey Street as well. Chris Mangle, at Mangle_Chris on Twitter. He says, chicken, triple or ham cheese mayo, cheese onion walkers. He likes apple slices, grapes, no melon, though. So there you go. There's someone who went for fruit, Mags. But the Australians are quite a healthy race, I suppose.
Healthy race?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't they?
I mean, they may be healthy, but race?
Is that not the right term?
Like people.
Okay, so what term shall I use? A healthy nation? What shall I?
Yeah, nation, people.
Okay, well, there you go. If I've offended anyone in Australia with that comment, I deeply apologise. These are the thoughts and words of Simon, and not chain wrestling or Radio Techers, but Mags on the slide does agree. He says Dr. Pepper is his favourite drink at the moment. Mm-hmm. So misunderstood, and he can relate to that. I do like Dr. Pepper.
You know, I do. I don't even understand the hate it gets because I think it's delicious.
Yeah, but if you have amaretto and Coke, it tastes like Dr. Pepper, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So since trying that, like for the first time, I don't know, a year or two ago, that's all I can think of now when I drink Dr. Pepper. So it's almost like I'm drinking a non-alcoholic version of an alcoholic beverage, and I just don't get on board with that.
So you just pretend you're pissed.
Yeah, it's not the same, is it? Carry the Gary, GH, at Carry the Gary on Twitter. Water, Oreos, ready salted Pringles, hummus sandwich. That seems quite uneventful, doesn't it? Water. So, yeah, you know.
I mean,
don't get me wrong, again.
It's healthy. I mean, the Oreos may not be, but hummus sandwich. I like hummus. I love sandwiches. I don't think I've ever tried a hummus sandwich. I would try it, but it's not something that would I'd get that excited about. Ready salted Pringles. I'm not a massive fan of Pringles in general, so they'd get a pass from me. Water, yeah, I don't mind water.
Yes,
I won't stick it in a meal deal. But yeah, it's a live a little, Gary. Just live a little, mate.
I'm on board, and I'm going to get a little bit of heat, I expect, from this from my kids and whatnot. But yeah, I agree with 5 minutes go there. Oreos do suck. I don't get it.
Well, you're wrong.
The best bit of an Oreo is the bit in the middle, isn't it? The white bit, right?
Yeah. Well, you can get double stuff. You get double stuffs.
But does that not defeat the purpose, though? Because if they already have to release one that's got more of the best bit in it, does that not already tell you that the original one isn't good enough?
No, because what they're doing is they are servicing 2 sectors of the market. The sector that likes the biscuits, the sector that likes the cream.
Okay.
Marketing genius. Marketing genius.
Just same as the orange bit in Jaffa Cakes, I'd quite happily just take the white bit out the middle.
I agree with Mrs. P.
Yeah, there we go.
Do you know, and this is something I only found out pretty recently, and it's props to Mr. Pruitt, who's just entered the chat here as well. They do party-size Oreos in the States, and they look like Frisbees. And
really?
I'd need to try one. They are huge.
Seriously, yeah. What, like this big?
Yeah, like a dinner plate size.
Why? See, I'd get on board with that just because it's something different, but I imagine I'd be very, very disappointed with that as well.
just on a larger scale.
Yeah, just more disappointment. The thing is, the biscuit bit is too hard. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like it's, I don't know, gone stale or something. It's too hard. It's like,
yeah, but then you're eating Oreos wrong, because the whole point is that you twist, you lick the cream off, and then you dip the biscuit in milk, which softens it up.
So that seems like a lot of work just to have a bit of grab, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you have to put effort in. That's if you want the best out of it.
Nah, I don't get on board with that, mate. It's the same as like when you have like meat like roast chicken or whatever like that. Yeah, I don't want the chicken on the bone or anything. I just want my meat on a plate so I can just eat it. I don't have to pick it like ribs and that. That seems like a lot of messing about just to get a bit of food.
Wow, you're a Neanderthal, aren't you?
I just want to be able to. What's on my plate? I don't want to have to mess with my food. I don't have to dick around taking the meat off the bone. I don't have to dick around twisting bloody biscuits and dipping them in shit. I just want to eat what's in front of me. I don't have to mess around. If I got the food in front of me, I don't have to wait for it to be ready. That defeats the purpose, surely.
You and Paul Tollett would be happy together.
But it's true though, mate. It's true though. And yeah, Oreos can get in the bin. My middle daughter, Livy, loves a bloody meal deal, mate. Constantly getting messages. Dad, can I have £3? Dad, can I have £3? Dad, can I have £3? Whenever she's out and about, because she travels like pretty much the whole of Gloucester. She'll nip out for the day and we'll get messages of, oh, I'm here now. Yeah, okay, no worries. And then she'll message an hour later, oh, I'm over here now. And it's like, that's like 6 miles from where you just were. She treks all over the place. So she's constantly surviving on these meal deals, I think. Dad, can I have another £3 and all this sort of stuff? And she says, chicken and bacon wrap, cocktail sausages and ketchup. I think you can get a little box of them, can't you? Yeah. With a little sachet. Mm-hmm. Someone who does go for fruit, pineapple chunks. I do like a bit of pineapple, mate.
Yeah.
Raspberry Ripple Lucozade. I've not tried Raspberry Ripple Lucozade. That sounds amazing.
I hate Lucozade. So I probably won't get that, but yeah, each to their own.
Yeah, but you say you hate Lucozade. There's different flavors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
Well yeah, original Lucozade, obviously that's Lucozade flavor or whatever. Yeah, I can understand why people may not like that. But like lemon Lucozade just tastes like lemon.
Right,
or
I
raspberry.
dare say it does. I don't like it. I don't want to like it. I ain't going
Have
to
you
try
tried
it.
it,
And you can't make me. You're not my mum.
Have you tried it?
No, I'm
No.
not going
Well,
to.
right. Next week, buy a bottle. We'll both have a bottle of raspberry Ripple Lucozade to try live on the show, mate.
Okay.
And we'll see. Because if you don't like ordinary Lucozade, I can think of no other drink that tastes like ordinary Lucozade.
I mean, that's fair.
That's a great show.
Yeah, I'll try it.
Okay. That's a great show. And I think we clicked on the same one at the same time then, didn't we? Pink Lucozade is brilliant. I really enjoy that. Yeah. I do enjoy that very much so.
So the Lucozades I've had the orange one. Don't like that. I've had the original.
Okay.
Don't like that. And I've had the standard lemonade one. Don't like that. So that's
Okay. So perhaps you just
3.
don't like Lucozade.
Yeah, it's 0-3.
Perhaps you just don't like Lucozade then, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
maybe.
I may be right that I don't like it.
Perhaps you know what you like and what you don't like, Mags. Maybe I don't know.
That could be a thing. Yeah.
Yes. At Radiotecha's Twitter handle here, which would be our leader Tanner, wouldn't it? I guess.
Tanner, who's saying hello in the chat. I love when the chat actually just talk between themselves. Like, these guys aren't interesting. Let's just have a conversation between ourselves.
We're arguing about whether you like Lucozade or not. And they just take themselves off to talk about other things. Tanner says, maybe a cheat code here, but I like a good bowl stroke salad. Cubed ribeye, shredded chicken on a salad with lettuce, tomato. He's giving me a freaking
recipe.
He's giving me a recipe here. On top of rice and beans with avocado. Or steak chicken. I don't think that can apply. I'm going to have to disqualify you. I think, Tanner, that's far too flash for a meal deal.
The thing with Tanner, and I love him dearly, but he is a foodie. He's very, very into the whole cooking and meal prep. So he also is very posh. Or he pretends to be posh. I mean, he will cook a brisket for like 20 hours. And show off about it. So, yeah.
So what does that do then? Just make it more like tasty?
Well, yeah, you slow cook it. A brisket is like a piece of meat that needs cooking for a long, long time. And he'll essentially smoke it. So when you cut into it, it's got like a dark ring around the edge, and then the meat's still like red and juicy.
Okay.
I mean, I have to give him his props. He is good at it.
Fair play. Steve-O, finishing off here on Twitter with our good buddy at Total Steve-O on Twitter. Once again, a topic he doesn't have much to add to, other than he hates hearing about meal deals, as the company he works for was going for a phase of getting more customers to buy them, and the store manager constantly telling us, think about how much that extra pound gets the customer. And he's right, I suppose. You look at some of these offers, like, £3 for what you get. Fair play, can't be argued with, can it?
Absolutely, and I think I commented because, and I've got to give props here to Steve. He's a brilliant guy. He's so supportive of us and other podcasters in our community. And he is also part of something, and I really want you guys to go and check it out. Something called Elite FPL, which is like a fancy football competition / channel. He does great work over there, so definitely go and search that on Twitter. Elite FPL. He put up his stream hangover kit.
Right. Yes.
And it was essentially a photo of him. It's a meal deal. He may not agree with it, but it was a meal deal. So he had a 2-litre bottle of water. He had a bag of pork scratchings, which were banging shout. And then he had 4 different cream cakes.
Four cream cakes.
Yeah, because it was like 2 of these selections of cream cakes were like £1.50. So he had 2 vanilla slices and 2 kind of like berry slices, I think they were. And then he had a bag of wine gums. So he had that's essentially a meal deal. A very bad for your meal deal, but a meal deal all the same.
See, I've always liked as a hangover cure Not that I tend not to get massive hangovers, but the best hangover cure I ever did have was literally a bacon sandwich, a glass of orange juice, and a Mars bar.
It's
And
the salt. It's the replacing the salts and sugars.
Yeah, and then after 20 minutes, I felt fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can get that. Wine gums, I can get on board with that. Super noodle sandwiches.
Yeah, but I take umbrage with the last two words of that, my invention. Sorry, young Anya. Those things were around whilst you were still a twinkle, dear, unfortunately.
Yeah, those were around a long time ago.
Yes,
they were. A galaxy far away. Magsy, what about yourself? What are your preferences, bud?
Okay, so when we spoke about this topic, I actually threw this to Mrs. Mags to see what her opinion would be. I'll get to hers in a minute because she's gone, I'd say, controversial in terms of her picks. But for me, the sandwich will be probably the sausage, bacon, egg triple. In terms of the drink, I'm not usually a big drinker of fizzy drinks. So I would have gone with the Summer Fruits Oasis. Crisps, it has to be paprika, Pepsi, paprika Max, Walker's Max paprika flavour. And then for the chocolate, Snickers all day long. And if Snickers weren't available, Topic. Something nutty.
Topic's the one I was going to go with, man. Topic's, yeah. I don't know if I've said before, but Topic reminds me of when I was little, and my dad was a driving instructor, and he'd come home at 9 o'clock, he'd finish work and whatever, and then he'd have to go back down the petrol station after he's popped in to fill the tank up for the following day's lessons and that. And if I was well behaved enough, I'd be allowed to jump in the car and go down to the shop with my dad, and he'd always come back out the garage with a Topic for me to eat on the way home. Yes. So yeah, I love a Topic, mate. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, the three go-tos are Snickers, Topic, and if those two are available, a Picnic.
Yeah. I see no Picnic. Picnic's got raisins in, hasn't it? Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. Look.
Oh, here we go.
Raisins. Same as biscuits. Same as biscuit in your chocolate. I'm not a fan of biscuit. If I want a biscuit, I'll have a biscuit.
Oh, so no biscuit, but fresh air. That's a fan, but biscuit, no deal. Deal breaker.
Well, yeah, kind of, I guess. I don't know. I suppose Twixes have got biscuit and they're quite nice.
Mm-hmm. And Dan in the chat, don't you find the peanuts just replace the chocolate and you're wasting your money? No, because you're getting some value for that money. It's not fresh air that you can't breathe peanuts in from the atmosphere as you can with fresh air. I mean, if you could, that would be amazing. I would love that. But let's
cause people with allergies a few problems, though, wouldn't it? Surely.
Well, there has to be collateral damage, unfortunately.
Why? Okay. So yeah, sod them as long as you can wander around breathing in your flaming, your salted nuts or whatnot.
Let's go on with Mrs. Mags's meal deal. So she went with a BLT classic. Again, not a massive fan with the crunchy water, but yeah, it's decent enough. She went for a full fat Coke. She hates anything that's diet or non-sugar. She just doesn't. I don't think she likes the taste of like the sweeteners in them. She's gone for sizzling steak McCoys, another banging shout. And now this is the one where I feel she may throw a spanner in the works. I personally don't mind this choice, but I know there's a lot of hate in the outer world for this choice. She went with a Bounty as her chocolate bar.
Oh, see, I don't mind that, mate. I don't mind that.
Mm.
No, I like a Bounty. I like the red ones, though.
Yeah, I prefer the red ones, dark chocolate or milk chocolate any day. But yeah, there's not a lot of love for Bounties in the world. And yeah, she went for a Bounty, and there was no like giving her when I was saying, no, you might not want to pick that. Do you want to pick something else? It was like, nope, Bounty. Not a Mars, nope, a fucking Bounty. Tell them assholes I want a Bounty.
Tell them assholes. See, I like the red Bounty, but I like dark chocolate as well. I like is it Bourneville it's called, isn't it? The dark chocolate there. But the really good one is the cheapo Happy Shopper, like 50p dark chocolate. That's good stuff, man.
I mean, it's a definition of good.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. The white chocolate as well. The Happy Shopper 50 or Euro Shopper it's called now, isn't it? Euro Shopper.
Bloody
50p.
Bloody Brexit. Taking our happy away.
Yeah, took all our happiness away. My wife's choices were chicken and bacon wrap, which is great shout. I love a wrap, Mags. I'd rather have a wrap than a sandwich, I think. Cheese and onion
really
crisps.
do like a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah. A twirl. Now, is that controversial, Mags, because of the air?
A twirl would escape because it's got a layer of full chocolate wrap. It's essentially a flake with a jacket on. So
right, but Aero has chocolate all around, and
No,
Whisper has chocolate all around there. It does.
Don't try and mess my logic, sir. A twirl manages to escape my wrath.
Right, okay. And a cafe latte, cold coffee from Tesco.
Oh, great shout, Mrs. P. I don't mind a good ass coffee.
Oh, it's coffee though, mate, isn't it? And it's cold. Can you? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Cold coffee? Well, it must be because people sell it, don't they? But cold coffee, it just sounds like, my hot drink preference is tea. I wouldn't drink cold tea, or like Lipton's iced tea stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's a thing. I'm not.
It's
I don't
garbage,
like
mate.
iced tea or sweet tea or anything like that. But a cold coffee, an iced coffee, yeah, I'd absolutely drink that.
Nah, not for me. Not for me, pal. Not for me. Okie doke.
No, he hasn't, Dan. There was still logic there.
There was not. It was. He very much picks and chooses when logic applies, I think.
Vince McMahon.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so as always, thank you so much to everybody who messaged the show, has been involved in the chat here discussing this non-wrestling topic of the week. If anyone has a suggestion for a non-wrestling topic going forward, by all means, tweet the show, comment on our Facebook, message us on Instagram, comment in the chat right now, seeing as you're here. Any ideas for a non-wrestling topic going forward will be hugely appreciated. You can get hold of us on you can get hold of us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on, at @chain_wrestling. And again, thank you so much for everyone's interactions. Really enjoyed that. We're not done yet, Dan. Where are you going, dude? We've got to get to the wrestling now.
Oh, we are actually covering some wrestling.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a bit of wrestling, mate. A bit of wrestling. Have you got your flashy little sound effects ready, Magsy? Because we'll talk some wrestling now, shall we?
Let's do it. I've got to remember which one it is. Is that one?
Let's get ready to rumble!
God, that's flashing clever, isn't it, eh?
It is. It is.
How can you forget this is a wrestling podcast, Dan? It's obviously a wrestling podcast, even though we're nearly an hour in and we've been talking like flakes versus twirls and whatnot. Right then, so our wrestling topic this week, the match that won the poll was my choice, Magsy. I won one. It is the main event from Halloween Havoc 1989, Thunderdome cage match, where apparently the cage is electrified, but we'll get to that shortly. And we have Ric Flair and Sting teaming up against the Great Muta and Terry Funk. Originally from the Philadelphia Civic Center, and first broadcast on October the 28th, 1989. Magsy, what was your first, your initial thoughts after watching this match back?
Yeah, you have got a knack of kind of exposing the gaps in my wrestling knowledge, and I was not ever a WCW watcher. We just couldn't get it in our area, so I don't have any kind of context for this match. It was literally the first time I was watching it. But when you put the pick forward last week, and with the amount of star power in it, I felt that how could this go wrong? And yet It did. Unfortunately, it did go
Yeah,
wrong.
it was kind of up and down, I think. I
Mm.
think there were some moments in this match that were really, really good. And I really enjoyed those moments. And again, 1989 NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW, whichever name you want to refer to it as. It is one of my favorite eras in wrestling. There's some brilliant stuff that happened there, some great matches, some brilliant performers, and so on. And again, the star power in this main event is huge. I mean, we've got
Mhm.
Sting and effectively a babyface Ric Flair at this stage, which is unusual. He's in a program of Terry Funk at this stage, so Funk is obviously involved. Muta is involved as well, who's the TV champion at this stage, and
Yep.
hugely talented, doing things in 1989 that people hadn't seen before. Nowadays probably things that are run of the mill, but in 1989 it was breathtaking what the Great Muta was doing. Add to that, you're in this cage. Add to that, you're the main event of this new pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc. Add to that, Bruno Sammartino is the guest referee. You look down that list of things to do with the match and you think, wow, that sounds fantastic. And as you said, Mags, it was a bit maybe not quite hitting the mark, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about legends after legends after legends, even the Terminators. Why they were called that is absolutely beyond me. But even they are two legitimate legends in wrestling, and this has it had all the characteristics to be an all-time classic, but it just felt like a letdown. I really, I can't explain it any other way. I felt let down watching this match because seeing the star power, thinking this should be amazing, and it ended up being a bit of a damp squib.
Yeah. As I said, I think the good moments were brilliant, but they were sort of spaced out, I suppose, with some confusing moments, I guess. I mean, we're told that the cage is going to be electrified to stop people getting in or out.
Yep.
So the way it was explained to me and my youngest daughter, Charlie, who watched the match back with me again today, we took that as meaning the cage was going to be electrified. But then as the story went on, as the match went on, it seems like maybe that was just the top of the cage was going to be electrified. And then...
Which doesn't make sense because the cage was made out of metal. So, you'd think, you touch that cage 20 foot away, you should still get an electric shock. It just didn't work for me. I mean, the cage itself it looked impressive. It certainly wasn't the 30 foot that Jim Ross claimed it was. But then they had all the kind of Halloween stuff hanging off it, and I think that kind of took away from the seriousness of the match. It looked a little bit tacky. The entrances I thought were really really cool. Terry Funk coming down almost like a ye olde western. The fans hated him, absolutely detested him,
and didn't he play up to it well?
I mean, a couple of times it looks like he's going to fight with the crowd. There's one point where someone throws a bottle of water over him, and it looks like he's essentially looking to square up to someone. Muta came out, and there was a guy moonwalking behind him.
What was that about?
I have no clue. I don't even know who the guy was.
I didn't notice that at first. I saw because WCW in this era had a thing about the person who was going to make the entrance would start at the top of the ramp, obviously, but they wouldn't come through a curtain or anything like that. They'd just be stood there waiting for their music to play, and then on their cue start walking. So Muta is stood there with Gary Hart at the top of the ramp, and you can see him from the wide shot and that. And then there's a guy stood behind him. Now that I noticed, thinking, okay, that's just some security fella or something like that. They start walking, and it was Charlie who said, "Why is that guy walking backwards behind him?"
Yeah, it was really.
And I was
really
like, I don't
weird.
know, really strange. And the fact that if it was for a reason, they'd be doing it for everybody, surely. But it was only literally for Muta, wasn't it?
And it's never even touched upon by the commentary.
No.
It's not even really mentioned. So why he's there or what point he was meant to be fulfilling. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But before we even get to the match, there's a little bit of an incident where they're kind of showing off that the top of this cage is electrified, and it sets one of these Halloween decorations on fire. So there's a little bit of a scramble with the officials who are trying to put it out, and then you get probably, for me, the best bit of the match was when Muta said, I've got this, lads. Only Muta can stop forest fires, and he missed the fire. He legitimately green missed the fire and puts it out. I thought that was brilliant.
It was very, very good, wasn't it? Really good stuff. Just missed in the fire. Oh, just brilliant. All the entrances, like you said, Magsy, were great. Sting looked fantastic, didn't he? With the sort of the black tights, but then like the really bright face paint and trim on the tights as well. Flair is just in this era that nobody could touch him, could they? He was so just that's how a champion should look to me. Absolutely top class. And Terry Funk I'll tell you what about Terry Funk. Actually, there's an interview with Terry Funk a bit earlier in the show. Did you see that?
I did. I watched the one with Flair and Sting as well. Thought that was a really cool, passionate promo.
Yeah, but note I've got here about Terry Funk is, my God, didn't he look good? Like, just proper ripped, abs and everything. Yeah. So I don't know. This is the sort of time he'd have been doing films and TV as well, wouldn't it? I think popping off. What year was Roadhouse made? Because he was in Roadhouse, wasn't he? That was late 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I bet it's around this time.
Yeah. And he was in an episode of Quantum Leap as well. And that would have been around this time, 89, 90, 91-ish sort of thing. So maybe he was trying to trim down a bit or look after himself for Hollywood roles. I don't know. But he just looks absolutely fantastic, Terry Funk. And it just crazy, isn't he? Absolutely mad.
Yeah. Like I said, him coming down to the ring, wanted to fight with the crowd. Then even as they were preparing for the match, he just grabs hold of what should have been an electrified cage, and he's just like bouncing off it and kind of rocking it and almost pulling it to pieces. Yeah, the guy was then early aged and crazy before he ended up turning up middle aged and crazy.
That's right. Again, grabbing the cage and swinging on it, and there's a lot of that went on in the match. So for a cage that's supposed to be electrified, that baffled me a little bit. It made no real sense at all. But yeah, I mean, the whole concept, if in case anyone's not watched the match back or doesn't understand, is there's no pinfalls, no submissions in theory. The way the match ends is these Terminators, as they're referred to as cornermen, I guess. Yeah. Ole Anderson for Flair and Sting, and Gary Hart for Muta and Funk. If they think their guys are taking too much punishment or they want their guys out of there, they throw in the towel. Job done. End of the match. That's how the only way the match is able to end, isn't it, Mags?
Yeah, and that actually leads to a really good point from the commentary when they try and say that Gary Hart has more of a reason to not throw it in because his whole career is built off the working of his wrestlers. So if they lose or if they get to a point where they're injured and they can't wrestle, he needs them to be able to work. So there's more of a chance that he's going to throw them in and stuff like that. The way they I think it was Jim Ross on commentary, he kind of put it across was that he got the emotion across. He got like the reasoning behind why one Terminator would throw in the towel over the other one, I suppose. Yeah.
Again, Ric Flair looks incredible throughout this contest. To me, this is peak Flair. I mean, Flair in the WWF 91, 92 is also really good. This sort of era, 88 through to sort of 90, 93, 94 is Flair. Probably a bit before, maybe 86 onwards, is kind of at his peak. 89, he always has these incredible matches with Funk on a singles level and Steamboat and so on. Brilliant stuff. His chops here, Mags. Now, everyone knows Flair chops are incredible, but his chops here, there's a couple on Funk that I literally sat there, like that when it happened. And then when Sting was holding, do you see the one where Sting was holding Muta? and Flair chop. Oh my word!
He put some stank into those chops.
Oh.
It was it was almost like Walter style. The kind of power that he was getting into him. Yeah, they looked brutal, really
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, we get a cool moment as well, I think, where I mean it's relatively chaotic, isn't it? You can't quite tell if people are supposed to be tagging
Yeah.
in and out.
Well, yeah, that was one thing that really actually started to grind me, because they started, as Jim Ross called it, Australian rules, where you had to tag in and out, and then halfway through the match they just give up, and it was a free for all. But we got an interview with Bruno earlier in the show, and he was saying that essentially he was only in there to make sure there's no cheating, and that one of the Terminators threw the towel in. So why was he bothered about the tag rule? Why were the wrestlers bothered about the tag rule? Because essentially they're giving up halfway through. It was things like that, like little bits of continuity that really just didn't work for me. But
yeah,
it was madness. It was madness in a cage.
yeah, and that kind of did appeal to me. I'm not going to lie, that the whole madness in a cage. There was one moment where San Martino literally just sort of went like that and just like waving Flair in. It's almost like he said, "Sod it, do what you want."
Yeah, exactly.
But up until that point, Flair was on the apron a lot, whilst Funk and Muta double teamed Sting. So it's almost like Flair wanted to tag himself in, but he left him to it, whereas the opposition just very much didn't bother tagging in and out. It's almost like they were playing by a different set of rules to their opponents at times. And that, as you said, Max, that kind of confused it a little bit for me, I think, watching back today.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you can kind of see the point that the heels will break the rules, and yet the faces will stick to the rules no matter what. But yeah, it did seem confusing when the referee wasn't kind of applying the rules to both teams. So yeah, it didn't end up making sense. I think it would have been better if they just said this is a 2-on-2 battle rather than a tag team match.
Yeah, and again, if you're in a cage with no rules, surely that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Again, just baffles me, mate. Baffles me. We get a cool moment where Sting press slams Muta into Terry Funk. The crowd at this stage you can see why Sting is being built up as the next big baby face, can't you? The crowd they adore him. Everything he does, they just pop in, and the noise for Sting is huge. He hits a couple of bulldogs, or I don't know, they're called bulldogs on commentary by Jim Ross, but he basically grabs his opponent by the hair and just rags him to the floor, doesn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. And the spot you mentioned just then about the kind of press slam almost into Terry Funk, he does that again later on in the match, and it's like he gets confused, like, what am I meant to do with him now? Should I throw him into the cage? Should I throw him into the ring? Should I throw him into the post? And he ends up just putting Muta down, and then he doesn't know what to do after that. And he's just like, he just goes and has a look around and like a bit of a wave to the fans. And yeah, you can tell that Sting was incredibly young then. He's obviously now, up until recently, was a brilliant ring general, but this Sting was still quite, he still needed to be led a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're supposed to be effectively grooming him to take over from Ric Flair, aren't they, as world champion? We end up, after this, the whole thing with Sting parting ways with the Horseman. Flair goes back to his more heelish persona, I guess, and we're heading towards Sting and Flair as the main event for the title before Sting then gets injured, and it kind of scuppers the whole thing a little bit. But that's a story for another day. Muta starts climbing the cage at this stage.
So before we get there, before we get there, we've got to, and again, this kind of goes against the continuity of the match. Terry Funk actually climbs the cage relatively early in the match, and he gets to the top and he touches the part that's meant to be electrified, and he gets a zap, and you can see him kind of like physically pull away. So then fast forward to when Muta does it, he seems to be able to climb up with free will and goes to the pretty much the same level as Terry Funk, doesn't get electrocuted, goes even higher and still doesn't get electrocuted. It's like, is this cage electrified or not? Who knows?
Yeah, just guesswork, isn't it? Absolute guesswork.
Pretty much.
Yeah, when Muta starts climbing the cage, obviously they've sold it as electrified. No one can escape, and the top of the cage kind of comes inwards like this. Isn't it? It sort of goes. It goes. I don't know if you can see me on the camera there. There we go. It sort of goes straight up and then inwards like that all the way around.
There's like a lip. Yeah.
So Charlie, again, the voice of absolute logic in this crazy scenario, just turns to me and goes, "Why is he doing that? He can't get out." And I was like, "Yeah, she's right. That makes perfect sense.
I mean,
why is he bothering?"
And it's to his own detriment because he ends up trying to attempt what I would assume was a moonsault, but gets crotched by the bars of the cage anyway.
Yeah.
So he didn't win by climbing up the cage.
No. Funk ends up. Oh, see, I've got my notes here. Look, Magsy, because there's so much going on. I kind of get a bit lost with what the match, because it's almost like two separate matches going on at one time, isn't there? As well,
and you miss stuff as well. And nowadays, WWE gets big heat if they miss a spot. In this match, there were so many things that the commentators were talking about that the camera just wasn't on.
That was a very WCW thing as well, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, like there were big moves from Sting on Muta that we just don't know what happened because we didn't see them. We can go off what Jim Ross and I think is it Gordon Solie who's on commentary with him. We can go off what they say, but you don't get to see it because the camera's not on it.
Yeah, exactly. The one you said about there, where he kind of gets dropped on the top rope, Muta. They're saying, literally, Jim Ross is shouting, "Look at Muta, stay on Muta, look at Muta," because it looks like he's going for the moonsault. And the camera cuts away to the other two competitors just brawling in the corner. And it kind of it frustrated me. And I'm a huge WCW NWA fan. Eventually, we end up with a couple of the guys very much at the top of the cage, don't we? And Terry Funk is literally hanging from crazy. The aforementioned lip, as you described it, Mags. Terry Funk is just hanging by his hands straight down, and he's just getting the shit chopped out of him as he's just hanging there. That was a brilliant visual.
Yeah, it was. I think there's only really Flair maybe that doesn't actually go for like the top of the cage and kind of Tarzaning around, because you even get a point where Sting does it and he ends up getting essentially his leg trapped in the cage. Funk gets his leg trapped in the cage. There's only Flair who's sensible to keep his feet on the ground.
Yeah, and you get a rope involved. There's a rope hanging down from the top of the cage as well, and people are swinging on the rope into each other. And at one stage, Sting is swinging from one side of the cage round a corner onto, I think it was still Terry Funk at this stage, wasn't it? Into the cage there. I enjoyed that. Charlie got a big kick out of that as well. She loved seeing them using the rope, swinging back and forth. That was a good moment. And then the Great Muta goes under the ring. And again, it's a moment where you look at it and go, well, why? Why has he done that?
Yeah. And again, the camera, they don't get long to focus on it because you literally just see his legs disappearing under the ring and away he goes. Yeah, the camera work was not good, but that leads to him essentially attacking, was it Sting that he attacked from behind because of it?
Right, yeah, okay. But again, it's that thing of, I got my daughter looking at me, well, why has he done that? Where's he going? What's the purpose? It didn't aid anything, didn't add anything to the match for me.
No.
I suppose eventually we kind of head towards the finish there, Magsy, don't we? If there's anything I've missed out dramatic-wise between that moment and the figure four.
I mean, if we have missed anything out, I implore you to go back and try and make sense of this madness of a match. But yeah, we start then going into the finish. Flair gets the figure four leg lock on Funk. So a cool spot where Sting is hitting splashes from the top rope onto onto Funk whilst he's
Yeah.
trapped in the figure four. I thought that was really cool. There was one that the second one really worried me because Bruno Sammartino kind of gets in the way, and he
doesn't realise that. Yeah.
he almost gets his head took off by a flying sting. but essentially, this leads to the finish where Gary Hart tries to. Oh no, is it Muta who tries to attack Bruno?
Yeah.
He gets a big kind of soup bone punch to the face, which then gives Gary Hart and Ollie Anderson the chance to kind of like pull off the shenanigans. Ole hits Gary Hart. Gary's towel goes flying in the most convoluted way. It was clearly very, very telegraphed. Lands on Bruno's shoulder, and Bruno's like, yeah, what's going on here? And it actually takes Ole Anderson pointing to it, saying, the towel is there on your shoulder. Finish the match. He grabs the towel, calls for the bell, and the fans go absolutely mental. It was fun. I enjoyed the fun of it. I just expected so much more.
Yeah, I think I did too. Again, I use Charlie quite often in these scenarios because a lot of these matches will be the first time she's seen them. She said she enjoyed it. She didn't take her eyes off it throughout the contest. There's a lot there that she did enjoy. But also, my 11-year-old daughter is asking me questions. Well, why is he doing that? What's the point in that? So again, I think it shows that there is a little bit of confusion there, a little bit of nonsense, I guess, going on in the match as well. You would think a match with these four in it in 1989 would be up there as being 9 or 10 out of 10 for us, Mags. But there's plenty of moments I think that get points sort of chipped away at for the final score. What are you thinking out of 10, mate, for this one?
Yeah, so if I was in the crowd for this match, I can see me absolutely loving it because of just how hectic it was, just the atmosphere. I mean, that crowd was ravenous. Really kind of a Philly crowd sometimes is a thing to behold. But watching it and judging it now, someone who's never really watched it before, I had some big expectations. Maybe that's my own fault, but I think that the people in this match have reputations for putting on really top quality matches, and I don't think this is one of them, unfortunately. So with the mistakes that happened in continuity, with the stuff that's just was inexplicable, like the tagging in and out, no explanation of why certain things were happening. It scores pretty low for me. I'm going to up it for the sake of Muta doing his best to put out fires with the mist. I thought that is one part of this that I could happily go back and watch again because it was fucking brilliant. I can't go any higher than 6.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of in the same ballpark, I think. I've said so many times before, this is my wheelhouse. This is what I adore. I love this era of wrestling. I love all the events, even the ones that are absolutely dross and terrible. I still enjoy going back and watching because I just love this era. It feels a lot more. It feels more organic, more edgy, more I suppose real, for want of a better term. Sting. This is my favorite era of Sting. The Surfer Sting. I prefer that to the Crow. Flair is one of my all-time favorites. I love Terry Funk. Muto was excellent. But so much just kind of missed the mark here. So for the fact that there's so much there that I do love, maybe I'm a bit biased with it, but I'm going to go slightly higher, Magsy, and probably give it a 6.5. I was bordering on a 7. But the more we talk about it, the more I think, maybe there was a bit more of this mistakes and this wasn't right. So yeah, I think a 6.5 for me is probably fair. I think, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your reasoning. For me, I just felt let down that for essentially 5 with Sammartino in the mix as well. 5 of the very best to ever do it in the ring. As kind of like shit the bed for me.
Yeah.
I think without this stipulation, if this was a standard tag match, we'd be talking really high numbers because these four could go. I think the stipulation really ruined it for me. And it's a stipulation that will probably get refined over the years. I understand that, but this first iteration of it didn't work for me.
I don't think they had many of them, to be honest. You might
I'm
have had
not
one
surprised.
or two more.
I'm not surprised.
Old Shagger Dave, old Mr. Meltzer, he actually gave this 4 stars.
Do you know, I actually have I had an issue with Shagger Dave just this very day. He gave he gave this 4 stars. He gave another match 4 stars recently. The Nick Gage versus Chris Jericho match, he gave 4 stars, which I wouldn't have given it 4 stars. I enjoyed it for what it was, but he said in his report he hated the match. He hated Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage, but still give it 4 stars.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right? He explained it by saying that the crowd reaction meant it deserved 4 stars. Right? So that got me to thinking, if the crowd reaction can influence what matches what score rating he gives it, then why did he give Honky Tonk versus Ultimate Warrior a dud? When
the crowd was wild.
That crowd reaction is, and I love AEW, but that crowd reaction is a bigger pop than anything AEW has ever done. That crowd were ravenous for Warrior, and the crowd didn't influence him to give that 4 stars, but yet he gave an AEW match he said he hated 4 stars. Just shows that sometimes maybe he is very, very biased.
That's right, and that's why Dave Meltzer sometimes can be an absolute pimple dick, and Dave Meltzer's star ratings are not the be-all and end-all. What is the be-all and end-all is the chain wrestling out of 10 system. That's the one that people should be paying attention to, okay? I agree with that comment, Dan. Absolutely spot on.
So Dan in the chat said the start and end of the match, as well as flare chops and the rope swing, will get an 8 or a 9 out of me. But everything in between was like 3 to 4, so 5 out of 10. Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And Scottish Danny, I would love for Shaggy Dave to appear on this show to get blistered in person.
I'd be nice to him. I got no issues
because you've got more faces than Big Ben.
It'd be nice to have somebody professional to work alongside, to be honest.
Rude. See, it's just been, that's what's happened today. Just Simon's just been rude to me all the day long. Started this morning and it's just carried on.
Yeah, I would say I'm sorry, but then I'd be lying. Where do you want to?
Brilliant.
Where do you want to go next week, Magsy mate? Where do you link to from this?
Right, so I'm gonna actually take I'm gonna take a page out of your book. You often use the venue for your links, and I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna go that way, but I'm gonna put my own slight twist on it. So this was the Philadelphia Civic Center. Now that actually shut down in 2005. It was actually demolished after that, unfortunately, which is a shame because so many big events happened at this show, at this arena, and I wanted to see what was the first really big show that happened after this arena had shut down, because Philly has always been a very kind of wrestling centric crowd. I wanted to know what was the big shows that came after that, so I did a little bit of Googling. And they didn't really have any big shows after Royal Rumble 2004, which was the show that was the last huge show before that stadium got dismantled, until 2009, when they had a TNA pay-per-view lockdown. But they actually had, in July of 2009, they had a WWE pay-per-view. They had Night of Champions.
Right.
Now, Night of Champions 2009, it's probably a show that you probably won't remember that much, but you will remember the main event. it was Jeff Hardy challenging CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's where I'm going. The link is Philly, and the match is Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk from Night of Champions 2009.
Why? And quite topical as well, with all the hype about CM Punk and so on.
It's almost like I knew what I was doing.
Look at that, eh? We're almost at the stage in my house again where I'm going to get banned from talking about CM Punk. My wife, if she's still in the chat, will back me up on this, no doubt. For, 7 years? Every time a Raw, a SmackDown, a pay-per-view or anything is in Chicago, I'm like, oh, what if Punk's coming back? And then all the rumors that start up every couple of years, the rumors would pop up when they about CM Punk talking about coming back in wrestling. And I would fully I'd dive in, mate. I'd be any slight rumor, I'd be involved in that. I'd be all over that. And it's got to the point where I think it was a year or two ago, Sharon actually said that she never wants me to hear me talk about CM Punk ever again because it's 7 years of driving it. But on this situation, it's a bit different because it looks like he actually is coming back.
Well, I mean,
so a CM Punk match, mate, I'd be all over that. I love a bit of CM Punk.
I mean, he's blocked me on Twitter for absolutely nothing.
Taste.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I was not really into watching a lot of wrestling when the Punk thing was happening in WWE, but I do appreciate what his talent, the kind of love that a lot of the wrestling community has for him. I don't share it because I don't have that emotional connection with him, but I understand why people do. If he comes back to AEW, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see what they can do there. I mean, they've sold out an arena on the back of rumors of
on
his
a
name.
rumor. Yeah, that's insane.
Now, imagine if he doesn't show. That's going to be bad.
Oh dear,
that's going to be bad. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of irons in the fire for AEW now. Rumors of Daniel Bryan, rumors now of Bray Wyatt, and even earlier on today, now potentially rumors of Ric Flair being involved. So yeah, we'll see.
Yes, I'll make CM Punk. And that whole feud was great with Punk doing the whole straight edge thing and talking about Hardy's addictions and really, really good and great matches as well. So if my selection loses to that, I'm going to be secretly quite happy because that is a great shout. However, hopefully it will not lose to that. My selection is staying with WCW. Surprise, surprise, because that's something I adore. But we're going to look at a different era in WCW. 1989 to 1997. It's not a big jump in time. It's 7-8 years, depending on when in the calendar it is. However, in wrestling, that can be a time warp. That can be such a massive difference in what companies are doing. And 1989 WCW and 1997 WCW are like two different companies. Earlier down on the Halloween Havoc 89 card, there's quite a few title matches. One of them is Lex Luger defending his NWA United States Championship against Brian Pillman. It's quite a good match, actually. If people go back and have a watch of that, it's quite good. Luger's got his working boots on that evening, and Brian Pillman is obviously always fantastic. But I wanted to look at not necessarily look at Luger defending a title, but Luger challenging for a title. And it's one of the top, I'd place it in the top 5 moments to ever happen in the history of Monday Nitro, which is a big shout when you look at the things that happened on that TV show when it was running regularly. I would like to use Luger wrestling on Halloween Havoc 89 as the link and go to Lex Luger versus Hollywood Hogan from the August 4th, 1997 episode of Nitro, where Hogan was the world champion. Crazy amount of heat on him for being, just being Hollywood Hogan and the NWO and so on. Luger, by proxy, I guess, Luger falls into a massively over babyface role here because of that. The crowd are wild. The match, considering it's Luger and Hogan, two guys who in 97, couldn't really be described as fantastic workers. The crowd make this, and the match is far better than it has any right to be with the likes of Luger and Hogan in. A really iconic. Everyone remembers Goldberg winning the belt on Nitro. Everyone remembers other moments like Scott Hall turning up and so on. This is one of the greatest moments in the history of Monday Nitro. And that's where I would like to go. The August 4th, 1997 episode of Monday Night Nitro. Lex Luger versus Hollywood Hogan for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, good pick. I've been going through a recent spate of watching NWO promos, and this whole area I went through a couple of days ago. And specifically, I was actually watching the Four Horsemen parody promo that the NWO did, and I think that maybe what a week or so before this match you're talking about. Yeah, so great man's think of that.
Yeah, there we go. Scottish Danny there. If I can just do that. Look at this. I did that all on my own. Look at that. The crowd was hot for that Nitro. Luger's finest moment, better than the fake win at SummerSlam 93. Yeah, the less SummerSlam 93 talk, the better, really, isn't it? It's not a great time.
Ridiculous. We've actually got a question in the chat as well. From Ralph Thing.
Oh, no, what? Sorry.
From Ralph Thing. Thank you for watching along. He's asked, or she has asked, should Batista sign with AEW as an on-screen personality after he gets his WWE Hall of Fame induction? Scottish Danny has said, yes, Batista would be great. I'm not so sure. And it's going to fall into that kind of similar trope of just having people because they're big names and ex-WWE. But it's more the fact that I just don't think Batista's style would work in AEW. I think it's very much a work rate based company. Everything you have to be, you have to have some wrestling chops about you. And as much as I really enjoyed Dave Batista, he's not a purist wrestler. He's a WWE style wrestler. Yeah. He works that kind of system.
Yeah, he's very much a sports entertainer, isn't he? I guess for want of a better term.
Great personality, but as a wrestler, no, I don't think he would work well in AEW.
That style of big, strong, muscular powerhouse kind of guy, they've got quite a few in AEW already that I think do that in a more suitable way, for their company than Batista. So
Brian Cage, for example,
that's a great shout.
Cut from the same kind of cloth, but I think he has a better work rate than Dave Batista. Certainly does. As a maybe he did. Ralph Thing did say as an on-screen personality, sure, but then are you not just using ex-WWE's talent for clout? And I don't want AEW to go down that route because that was the death knell for WCW. The fact that they relied on ex-WWF talent to get pops to the detriment of the amazing talent that they had there that we just couldn't break through. I mean, we saw the likes of, we spoke about it recently, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, all couldn't break through in WCW because they were relying on ex-WWF talent to be at the top of the card. I don't really want that for AEW. No,
I agree, Maxie. I agree. Thank you very much for that. And everyone else who's been in the chat this evening. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us at any stage, really, on any of our live shows, listened back to any of our audio recordings, anyone who watches the live show back if you've missed it. It's always hugely appreciated. However you consume your chain wrestling goodness, whether it's live, audio, or a rerun, so to speak, it's hugely appreciated. Tell a friend, get other people involved. Get involved in the non-wrestling topic, get involved in voting on the polls. And this week's poll is the August 4th Nitro, Luger versus Hogan for the WCW title, or we have Night of Champions 2009 main event for the title, Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk. Two brilliant matches, for different reasons, 2 different styles, 2 different eras, I guess. So it's going to be really interesting to see which way we go. Magsy, whereabouts can people find you online, my friend?
Okay, so you can follow me on the Twitters at PodfatherMags. In terms of content, I am all over the shop. Many of it here on Radioteca, so give us a like and subscribe, and you will see plenty of my face all over this channel. And if you don't really like my face, you can listen to my audio, which again is all over this channel. So yeah, come and give me a follow on Twitter and give our Radiotechers a sub here on YouTube or Twitch.
Yep, definitely. You can find me at SJP Words, as it says just here. There, look. You can find the show, most importantly, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at @chain_wrestling. Twitter is where you will find the poll and so on to vote in. Get involved there. Make sure you're sharing, retweeting, following, and all that great interweb technological stuff that the cool kids do. Yeah, and thank you, as always, to everybody for getting involved. I'm off now to try and blow out a fire with some mist and maybe pick up a topic if the shop's still open. Maxie, I'll speak to you next week, my friend.
See you later.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest